Hey everyone, it is Marla Copal, the Vitality Mentor, and it is Saturday, April 4th, and we are still sheltering in place because that's what we're all doing right now to support the world in its healing. And what's always going on is that underlying conversation with people about what's next, or when I can get back to normal. Well, we're actually in a situation that many of us have never experienced before. We know there's been other flu-like symptoms, and we've either not really heard, seen, or felt the results of those types of pandemics. And so we have no background to resource to say, how should I behave? How should I plan? What should I do in the meantime while I'm sheltering in place? So we can all come up with a great list of things to do. We can clean our houses. We can be looking forward to the day where we can walk out and embrace our neighbors again. We really just have so many things that we're probably thinking about. But we're also a bit muddled. We're a bit muddled because we don't know the deadline. So here's what's going on. I think that if you want to stay positive and help yourself and your family manage what's coming up, I think you have to have a resiliency plan. So what do I mean by a resiliency plan? Well, as an old property manager, or a former property manager, I should say, I am old, but as a former property manager, we had contingency plans in place. We knew that if there was a water leak, here were the contractors that we called. If we had to move somebody out of their office space in the meantime, here's who we called. So we had all sorts of contingency plans depending on the situation. Well, this is a contingency plan that some of us have never ever thought about. You know, we're cloistered in a quiet space with a lot of people for a long period of time. For some of us, the expectation is that we'll be done, over, finished by April 30th. In Colorado, that's the current lockdown period. But here's the challenge with this. The virus runs the deadline, not us. So as human beings who love to control what's going on, as human beings who like to feel we are powerful, empowered, and leading our lives the way we would like, we are now just settling into the fact that, hey, we don't have control over this thing. But it takes each individual staying home, wearing masks when they go out, because it is necessary to go to the grocery store. When we begin to limit our activities and allow those who are helping in the healthcare field, we help by not creating one more case. That's how we help. But it's hard for people to measure something that's so broad like that. You know, people keep asking me, do I know anybody who has the virus? I do know someone. I've not seen her in a long time, but through Facebook, I heard that she had this. Through, I'm watching the news, I see other people that are passing. There are a number of senior living facilities here in my city that, prior to the knowledge of this, they had a bridge tournament, and they had a choir practice, and there were 150 at one of those events and 100 people at those events. So seniors who've been collecting together to create a new community in their retirement are now finding themselves in lockdown situations in which their neighbors are passing. When my dad was alive and living in one of those, he used to tell me, the little red wagon came today. Well, that was fun for him at one point. There was some humor, because in talking with the people in those environments, his neighbors, they all knew that there was an end in sight. But sometimes you'd rather it be a surprise than something long-term and uncomfortable and miserable. So I feel for all of these people, and I'm sending prayers and light and doing the best that I can. But let's get back to you. Let's get back to you. What I want you to look at is, are you setting false expectations of when this is over? Is your false expectation that you will go back to normal? there's going to be a new normal. So be ready for some more adjustments, surprises, maybe an adventure. I mean, there is an adventure. So let me see if I can simplify this. I never knew it, but when I went to Outward Bound in my first 26 days at sea with a group of people, I didn't know what culture I was missing. And culture to me is a broad term. But I was raised in California where everything's bright and there's fresh fruit and you just go in. So when I got off my island and my sea experience, I had some food cravings. I craved sourdough French bread because you could always get that in California. And I craved touching fresh fruit, not canned fruit that we had been eating all along. And I wanted a certain brand of ice cream. Those are my three things. I remember that because it was momentous. And I go into this little grocery store in Maine, and all the fruit is packaged. Now, this is 1972. I had never seen packaged fruit before in my life. So here they are. They had 2 tomatoes, and it was wrapped in cellophane with a little container under it. Everything was already compartmentalized. Nowadays, we see that. But in 1972, that was like strange to me, like really strange. Like, what do you mean I can't touch and squeeze my fruit? Now, today in 2020, we all want it wrapped, and we want to trust that the people who wrapped it were wearing gloves because we don't want their stuff. And then I went to look for my brand of ice cream, and I saw all these brands of ice cream that weren't in my freezer in California. Well, this is Maine. Oh, well, duh. East Coast has different manufacturers. So the probability is that I'm not going to find my favorite local brand in Maine from California. So my awareness is growing around what should I expect. And then I'm looking for sourdough bread. And when I ask for sourdough bread, they look at me like they don't even know what it is. So again, remember, I'm talking 1972. So here was the thing. My need for my own familiarity was missing because I didn't know that, 1, I would want these things, and then 2, I didn't know that the environment I brought myself to, Maine, that these things weren't going to be there. Now that's a simple example of what could be different. So let's take this a little broader. Let's talk about these expectations you have right now for a deadline for this to be over. So in Colorado, they're talking to us about April 30th. Well, the virus is going to determine that for us. So we maybe should have a 15-day leeway on that. Like think May 15th. And then if you get out or free, whatever the term is you're going to use, from your home on April 30th, then you can celebrate that. So it's the same thing in customer service. You under promise and over deliver. So bring into your family this concept of under promise, over deliver. So if the under promise is to start having everybody think May 15th, June 1st, whatever it is, let's make sure people are not going to set themselves up for a second wave of frustration and irritation on April 30th. Now, if you go look and get a little more global in your research, you'll find that a lot of countries or communities have made these decisions already. So my July convention in Toronto, Canada, has been postponed till 2021. Now, I could be disappointed about that, but I'm really grateful. There's a decision made. Now I can plan, what do I want to do when I am out of the house? And it no longer includes that travel. So now I can fill this time with some other things that are on my list of things to do. So Canada has closed down their borders for tourism until June 30th. Okay. I think that's good advanced planning instead of just telling everybody, well, maybe here. Oh, now we're going to extend it 30 days and maybe here. Now Canada has an expectation for at least something to plan towards. What can I do in the meantime? And will June 30th still be hard and fast? well, it's sure more potential for being a good date than an April 30th date. So to set expectations out for a while gives people time to plan, to recreate. So I know a lot of people are saying, oh my God, I'm stuck, but it's a time to recreate. And then now, interestingly enough, in Toronto, they closed down all public transportation until July 15th because people weren't using that transportation anyway. So they went to July 15th for the public transportation. Now, can they up that date to the end of June? They could. They could. But that's what you call planning for next. We don't know what next will be, but let's give ourselves a date that's a little more realistic to help people come in, settle, understand what the next step is, instead of getting them out the doors too soon and recreating a next surge for the virus. So as we know, life cycles, I've been through a lot of life cycles, none like this one, where I'm sheltering in place. I've had a lot of pre-chosen, whatever you want to call it, moments of being in place, like 6 months on a mountain running a retreat center, 6 months at sea with Outward Bound, and I'm missing civilization and I'm not missing it. But this type of self-imposed in your home, it's never been an expectation of anyone. The plans we create are situational. So let's look at our lives as being on situation, and how to be on point with being in a situation is to be creative, to not set too high of expectations of when you will, quote, be free. Take that word out of your conversation, and maybe the conversation when you say is my next is I'm going to be the most creative in my life, because out of this situation of a lot of broken parts, upset jobs, disrupted economy, I'm going to have to be the most resilient I can be. And I don't know what that looks like. We need to admit it. We don't know what a normal will be. And we need to not go out of our doors thinking, oh, now I can buy this, now I can do that. I'm going to bet if you're an observer, you're going to find some interesting things going on at the end of this time. And I have no crystal ball and I can't predict it. But let's stay together on this adventure. Join me every day at 8:30 and start planning a tentative next, but don't put a deadline on it, because that deadline is going to shift. And if we don't believe that, we're setting ourselves up for more anxiety and more stress. And I'm here to help you pull together. I'm here to help you create a plan for sanity in this greatest time of unknown. And may you all be healthy. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's called The Vitality Mentor. That's how we have enthusiasm in spite of what's going on. Please text me to 64600 and text Marla to 64600. That'll pull in some of the things that I'm doing and interested in. But it also gives you a lifeline to me if you just need some help. And it's the thing you can do is hit text and go, tell me a need. I will connect you with over 150 healers, people who are good listeners, empaths, people who could just get you over today's hump so that you can be here for the next and enjoy your life while you're in this lockdown period. So blessings to all of you on Saturday, April 4th. I look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.